The best relationships occur when they both have had a brain transplant and they're both using the double consciousness in their brain. The heart feels, but don't have a right to make decisions. The reproductive organ functions, but it don't have a right to make decisions on the earth. The worst relationships is when neither have had a brain transplant. And the man operates from his reproductive organ and the woman operates from her heart. Relationships where somebody got to give something up and deal with nonsense are the ones that maybe one of them had and the other one hadn't. Maybe the man had a brain transplant, the woman didn't, or the woman had a brain transplant and the man didn't. Now, what I'm talking about with the brain transplant is taking a person through understanding the sacredness of sensuality and the purpose of sexuality. Two different things. See, African people are sensual. They're not sexual. Because we like to see. We like to smell. We like to taste. We like to hear. We like to touch. We like to think. That will lead proactively and positively to a very healthy physical relationship, because when a man and woman are in the position of reproduction, they actually are acting like God. Mm. It is the only time two humans are one. You're connected. Yeah. It's sacred. And when you're in that position, you should understand the powerful spiritual, creative, regenerative, reproductive power that you have and respect that. But if you're not taught that, then what you think is love actually is lust. We have to start to think on certain levels. We have to start talking to our young people. Because, hey, family, we're talking WAP right now. Because that's what this is. The greatest king. Well, I was going to tell you something that Dr. Ben told me one day, but it was rather, it was suggestive. But he said, if you want to destroy an organization, well, let me put it to you like this. If you want to destroy an organization, just introduce a pretty WAP. And that will dismantle the entire organization because of the magnetism of the African woman. The African woman has been used as an object for the past 400 years. Yeah. And it's time for we as men to look at our sisters, our Hemet Neset Waret, that queen that sits next to you, not above you on a pedestal, not in front of you, not behind you, but sits on the throne next to you. Hemet Neset Waret, which means metaphorically the deep well of water that I go to when I'm parched by the desert. Mm. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever been in the desert. I've been in Sahara. I know desert, and I know what it is to be thirsty. Mm. And I know what, I don't quite know what it is to be parched, but I have a good idea because I've been thirsty. Mm. You know, when you parched in the desert, there's only one thing you're thinking about.
Water.
Water. Yeah. That's the only thing that can satisfy you. That's the only thing that you're looking for. In fact, you want water so bad, you create mirages where you can make up in your mind that's water.
Yeah.
Okay? So imagine when you look at your woman, she's not just water. She's a deep well of water that you go to when you're parched by the desert. Oh, but hold on. Not only is she water, not only is she a well, but she's a deep well of water, which means sister will fix whatever is wrong with you. And that is something that I have an enormous amount of respect for our sisters. And I have enormous respect for our brothers who have fought through this over these years. Because quite frankly, Brother Khalid, and to all those that are listening, when was the black man ever meant to be a father? When was he ever to exhibit manhood? Two things that would scare the life out of Well, look, it scares them right now. So the way in which we conduct ourselves, inappropriate. But we have to learn what and who we forgot we are. We must relearn this. We have to reboot our neurons in our brain and connect them into the cosmic reality. Return back to the way we were. And understand that. Look, we had our problems. We have our saints and our sinners. African folk had their problems. But the law was Ma'at. You always could go back to Ma'at. Whenever you got lost on the road of Ishvet, you could always find your way back to Ma'at. But in this society is Ishvet. It is chaos and disorder and disarrangement. It is injustice. Out of whack, out of balance, out of harmony. And that's where we are right now. We need a symphonic revolution. You know, there's a song by Mandra, Symphonic Revolution. Went back in the day. I just took a couple of folk back to the day. Symphonic revolution. We need to work on that. So, brother, I'm going to stop there, and I'm just going to open it up because I've been talking quite a bit.
You good, Elder. I enjoy these conversations. My job is just to sit back, listen, take it all in, and everything that you're saying about Ma'at, the balance, our spiritual connection. My age group, I know there's been this big awakening when it comes to questioning things, whether it's Christianity, Islam, whatever. How do we get back to that spiritual connection that the Twat people had when it came to knowing who they were, being connected with nature when it comes to having Ma'at? How do we find that balance again?
Absolutely. That's a good question, brother.
Thank you.
And I often answer it this way. We each have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-great-grandparents, okay? If you go back 20 generations, which if a generation is 20 years, you're going back 400 years. If you go back to the year 1621, 400 years from now, 2021, for you, Brother Caleb, and for everyone that is listening right now, and for me, when you look at all those ancestors and all those numbers, 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, on down the line, 20 generations, within you, there is 1,047,576 people. Think about that, family. Just go back 400 years, 20 generations. It took 1,047,576 human beings to exist to bring you where you are right now. And I only went back 400 years. What if I take you back to your original family, the Twa Mbuti? How many ancestors do you have? How many billions of ancestors do you have now that made you exist? So to answer your question, when you're searching for the way, know that you are the way. You are your ancestors. Brother contacted me the other day and said that, you know, he had gone through, you know, quite trials and tribulations that his mother died. Mm. And he said that, you know, he had a really great relationship with his mother, and he read my book, Spirituality Before Religions, and he felt that I was someone that he could reach out to ask the question, because he said, I feel her presence. Mm. Can you explain that to me? And I said, well, I can only tell you from where I'm coming from, because I don't want to become an authority on this, because I'm working it out like everybody else. Mm. But there's one thing that I know. I know that the reason why he felt the presence of his mother is because he is his mother. Mm. He is a combination of his mommy and his daddy that created him. And so we should not be surprised when we feel the presence of people we love. And not just that, you can feel the presence of an ancestor a couple hundred years ago that you didn't even know, because they're in you. You got 1,047,576 human beings that produced you. And that's just 400 years. So if you want to go back to the Twayambuti, recognize that they're in you. Study and understand who they were. Respect them for what they did. They were as much a genius during their time, no matter how we may view what they did, because we are where we are. Remember, Malcolm often said, you know, don't get cute with yourself just because you got some knowledge, because you remember how you were acting when you was a fool.
That's right. Right.
So sometimes when we get some knowledge, we get very sanctimonious. We get to the point where, oh, I don't believe you're doing that, No, it's possible. I remember how I was. And so we are already there, first of all. When you say, how can we get back? We don't really have to go back. All we have to do is create in the present. It's here for us. And they want to talk to us. People say, well, how do you talk to your ancestors? Well, as a father with children, if my son or daughters call me, oh, I like that. You don't have to call and tell me nothing special. You say, well, the reason why I'm calling you, no, you could call just to say hello. That's how I see the creator within me, because I am the creator having a human experience. But that's how I see it. There's no formal way to talk. How do you talk? However you talk. And the voice that you hear, that's the creator. You are the creator having a human experience. You have the power to do it. There is nothing stronger than the indomitable spirit in human beings. No matter how AI may go, artificial intelligence, no matter how that may go, there is nothing more powerful than natural intelligence. Artificial intelligence has its way. Just like I told you, I'm feeling these flash drives.
Yeah.
I like this technology. I like this phone. I like being able to do this with you, Brother Caleb, and family. I like getting on my computer and do my work. I like that. But this is not my future. It's part of my future. It's what I do with this that determines who I am as a person. There is nothing stronger than the indomitable spirit that resides in each and every one of us. Nothing is stronger than that. And we have to understand this. Our ancestors understood this on the plantation. Oh, come on, family. The lives that they lived, the things that they had to go through. Wow. I'm gonna tell you this story. I know how people feel, but please allow me to tell the story without getting personal. I used to work at Rikers Island. I used to teach in the high school at Rikers Island. And one year, the students were having a rite of passage program, what I call right to pass program. And they had this ceremony. And one of the ceremonies was for one of the brothers, high school brothers that was incarcerated at Rikers Island. He was to sing a song. This was a number of years back. We're not in the controversy that we are now, but it was back then. And the song that he sang, and by the way, we're in the chapel, the Christian chapel. This is where we met. His contribution is to sing a song titled, I Believe I Can Fly. Okay? Please give me permission to tell the story from the context that I'm telling. I understand the other parts to it. I'm dealing with the words now. And I'm so upset, man, that things happen like this, and so ridiculous that things would happen like this, because I used to use this song. I had people crying in the audience when I used to tell this story, because I would play the music, but I can't do that anymore because of the nature of what has happened. Yeah. But it doesn't take away from the validity of the story that I'm telling you. The words to I Believe I Can Fly. The brother that came to sing that song, he did not sound like the original singer of that song. he sang it real slow. He sang it real sad. He was off pitch. But he knew all the words. But now you have to see, I'm sitting on the stage and I'm looking out. And I am looking at a prison in a prison. Mm. I am looking at the church in Rikers Island. And all of a sudden, those words dawned on me, what those words were. And this brother, he transplanted me back onto a plantation in South Carolina in 1700s. And as I began to hear him sing that song, and it was that he sounded so sad and it was so slow. It didn't sound anything like the real song. It had the melody, but it was different. And I was watching the group. I knew who I was looking at. I was in a plantation, And I listened to those words. Now I realize I used to always encourage people, like when I would do this, go back and listen to the words. I can't do that now, fam. But you understand what I'm saying. But when you listen to those words, I believe I can fly. It transplants you back onto a plantation. And all of a sudden you start to hear the people on the plantation singing that song. And for the first time, I understood what that song meant. Our ancestors went through a hell on earth, but they never gave up because they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that they may not see their freedom, but they knew that if they just kept on keeping on, somebody would. And they fought the good fight, and they finished their course. We are who they dreamed could fly. We are. When they sang that song, when they lived their life, our ancestors, who we may never know, when they went from day to day struggling to survive, to live, to give birth, to create, they called us into existence. If you can understand what I'm saying, they manifested us in their words. We're talking about those 1,047,576 people and family. The only thing I can say is if they didn't give up with what they went through, I'm ashamed to think I'm having a rough day. In fact, if I woke up and thought I was having a rough day, I wake up and apologize. If our ancestors did that back then, we can do this now. Yeah. And it's your generations, our generations, that are never going to give up. It ain't over till we win. And just think for one moment what you can achieve. What is your passion? What is your gift? What have you been given unique to everybody else that you know? What is that? Never stop perfecting that. Dr. Clark used to always tell me, Booker T, perfect your craft. Never stop. Always continue. I tell people, I didn't retire from the Board of Ed after 31 years. I graduated. Because I always wondered, why do you say commencement address when commencement means to begin? Because when you graduate from 8th grade, when you graduate from high school, that's not an ending, that's a new beginning. And so from 2009 to here, I've been doing what I was born to do. Everything else was school for me to learn how to come. My classroom where I taught was my classroom where I learned how to teach. My children, my kindergarten children, they were my professors. They taught me. Some of the greatest lessons I've learned have come from 4- and 5-year-olds. If you ever want to know about yourself, hang around 4- and 5-year-olds for a while. They'll tell you exactly about yourself. They'll tell you from your head top to where your shoes stop. They'll tell you everything about you. They'll read you like a book. So if you want to go back, you got to go in. That's my point. If you want to go back, you go in. Because all of your ancestors dwell within you. They're there. They're there. And they're waiting for you to ask. Just like a father or mother would wait to hear from their children. Well, the ancestors. Our ancestors are what we cannot see, cannot hear, cannot touch, cannot smell, cannot taste, cannot think. We are what they cannot see, hear, smell. Together, we will see the seen and the unseen. And we will manifest in us, each and every one of us. I don't care. You a bus driver, you work for Metro, be the best bus driver you can be. You work for FedEx, be the best FedEx that you can be. You may say, I want to do something else. That's fine. Do that something else. But whatever you do, be the best at what you do. Learn your craft, whatever it is, and understand something else. Solar power is the wealth of the future. Solar power is the wealth of the future. Study solar power. Study the sun. You can start by just getting a book on the sun. I mean, you can Google the sun. Just learn about the different aspects of the sun, the chromosphere, the core, you know, sunspots. Just learn what the sun does. Because you are the sun. You just the sun encapsulated in a physical form here on Earth as nitrogen and other things that make us who we are. You want to go back? Go in. And if you do go back and you do go in order to come out and project yourself into the future. Other than that, all we're doing is just dead history. If you can't use what you learn, you wasted your time learning. Everything you learn, you should do something with. You can see how bad our educational system is. Look at all the things that children throw away. Because they learned something that is absolutely useless, or what they learned was not put into context to understand how you can use that. I believe in teaching to the inventor's mind. When I used to teach math to children, I didn't just teach them math. I used to teach them math and then ask them, what can you do better? If I taught them science, I said, what can you invent better? I taught to an inventor's mind. I didn't teach for you to know something. I taught you something for you to know it and then apply it. What can you always be thinking about how you can take what you have to the next? And children are very good at this, but we break it down on them because we make them start doing things that they really don't want to do. If we had let them do what they wanted to do with what they had, they probably could have learned more. You know, when I used to teach classes, Brother Caleb, and a child would ask a question or something like that, and another child would chime in, and then another child, I used to shut up. Because to me, that was the greatest lesson that could be learned. When we can inspire each other to think and to talk, that's knowledge and wisdom. So some teachers say, okay, stop it now. I'm teaching you about finding the common denominator. So just calm it down there. No, I used to just let them talk. When I taught, you know, many years that I taught kindergarten, I used to always tell the principal who would come in, because every so often, 3 times a year, the principal has to come in and observe you as a teacher. And so when they would come into my kindergarten class, I used to, and then you had a pre-observation, and then you had the observation, then you had a post-observation. A pre-observation is when you met with the principal ahead of time and you gave her or him the lesson plan you were going to teach, and you talked about what you were going to do. And I would always tell the teacher, I would always tell the principal, look, please do not judge me for the amount of noise that you hear in my class, because I encourage participation in the class. I said, if you want to judge me, listen to what they're talking about. Brother Caleb, they were always on point. They always were talking about the subject that I was teaching. But they were loud, brother. They were, and I let them get loud. I didn't care. That's children.
Right.
That's what they do. We beat them down constantly, and then we tell them, speak up for yourself. Well, damn, you beat me down. How am I going to speak up for myself? You've been beating me down all these years. Now you want me to. So I think that's the answer that I would give. You have everything that you need. All of your ancestors dwell within you. You are a magnificent specimen of a cosmic masterpiece. I'm talking to the brother or sister that waits for a red light to come out with a cup to ask you for a little bit of money. They're a cosmic masterpiece also, and they are to be respected. You know, when I come upon a brother or sister, I may not have anything. I tell them, brother or sister, I ain't got nothing today, but I wish you have a good day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Maybe next time we meet, I'll have a little something. I'll check you. And, because I take the same pattern home, a lot of times they are there. If I got a little something, I give them something. If I got a bag of peanuts, I give them that. If I got an orange, I give them that. That's the Creator's child. That is the Creator having a human experience. It's a rough existence for them, but they still are the Creator, and I see them as the Creator. I don't disrespect them for where they find themselves. But by the grace of God, Brother Caleb, there go I. I grew up and was raised in a project with all of the things that are in projects. But I don't really talk about the bad things in the project, because I also knew good people that worked every day and worked hard to get their family ahead. I knew fathers and mothers that tried to get their families ahead. I know mothers that by themselves did everything they could to do the best for their children. The projects have good people in them, solid citizens of the world. I tend not to try to talk about all the rough times I had, because I want to talk about the good times I had. I've known some great people in the Amsterdam houses across from Lincoln Center in New York. And I respect them, and they respected each other, and they respected us. And I'm going to tell you something else. Every so often on a Sunday, my mother cooked chicken and kidney beans and rice, Southern style. My neighbors from Puerto Rico, they prepared arroz con pollo y habichuela, which means chicken and rice with beans. Okay? We had a Haitian family above us. They cooked poo, chicken and rice and beans. And all of us would get these little plates. And I would take plates to Senora Gonzalez's house and to the Paris house. And they would give me one of their dishes. We never complained about how it tasted. We just talked about how good it all was. We have to stop fighting amongst ourselves. That's number one. Number one, you got to stop fighting amongst yourself. But first, you got to stop fighting with yourself. You have to embrace your greatness. Don't be shy. Embrace your greatness. Walk out in the world on your square and conduct yourself like a cosmic being. And just realize that you've been placed here for a divine purpose, with all of those millions upon billions of sperm cells that your daddy released within your mother. That one sperm cell that created you had a purpose. That sperm was just swimming. Say, I got to get here. This is my destiny. This is manifest destiny. And that egg of your mommy said, I got to get that sperm up here. So she magnetized herself and drew that sperm. And the electricity in the sperm tail just started moving. And they met. And then once that sperm went into the egg, mama circumvented herself and closed it off and didn't let no other sperm anywhere near. And that's who you are. You have a purpose. Your job is to find it and perfect it.
That's it.
Much respect.
Yes, sir.
Much respect.
That's powerful. Dr. Kaba, Elder, my very last question for young people right now during this time, from seeing people who look like us dying on TV, kids who grew up just like you, right, in the projects, low opportunities, education system, going to church, seeing always white people in a dominant position. How do we build up our confidence? And two, how do we not give up, right? Because I know that right now young people go through so much. So how do we fight through this?
Absolutely. You know, I've worked with young people who, for want of a better way of explaining it, have considered suicide. And I say to them, what is your greatest dream? I said, you know, if you could imagine all of the greatness, and I don't care if you want to be the #1 basketball player or the singer, or you want to be a computer analyst, what is your dream? And we'll get into a conversation, and I'll have them build it so that they are really up where their greatest dream is concerned. And I would say, imagine that you may take your life today, but tomorrow the opportunity to get that was going to come, but you never lived to know it. I understand I don't know, but I understand what we're going through and what we can imagine, the pain that we're going through, and in the variety of ways because of our own different backgrounds. I can't speak to that because I had no control over that. But even if we're not talking suicide and we're just talking about wondering what's happening, know who you are. Know your greatness. Understand there's a reason why you're here. The Creator doesn't make mistakes. You're here for a purpose. You were destined to come into existence 25 trillion years ago. You were on your way. It just took you 20-something thousand trillion years to get here. But you're here now. What's your purpose? Understand what people are doing. In life, there are people who were born to stop you from achieving your goal. You were born to make sure they don't. Our ancestors, they went through some stuff, but they still kept on. They still kept on. And I tell you, fam, I got such a respect for that, because in studying history, you start reading what's called slave narratives. You start reading conditions on the plantation. You start reading books like That Peculiar Institution. You start reading books that let you know what human beings went through. But despite that, and in spite of that, still they went on. And if they could do that then, I can do this now. And for all of us, I understand and see what's happening. My son and I were talking the other day. My generation is rap. My generation is the one that ushered in rap in the 60s. It came out of Gil Scott-Heron, Oscar Brown Jr., Sonia Sanchez, Nikki Giovanni. It came from the numerous people that would go to coffee clashes and recite their poetry in sync with the Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, the 5%ers, because a lot of the rappers are 5%ers.
Right.
Jay-Z, Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why Wu-Tang invited me to be a part of their album. That last album, I was on their album. It's called Message, number 17. I'm on a new one now because I did a thing on police predators, and they have a new one out now. Wu-Tang is coming out with a new album, and the piece that I'm on is called In the Company of Wolves. You'd have to hear what I said to understand how appropriate that is. My generation came up out of this. Clarence 13X, the father Allah of the 5%ers. I used to see him in Harlem. Never met him. Don't want to claim that. But I used to see him. People say, hey, man, you know who that is? That's Father Allah. Everybody in this group have a name. They call themselves God.
Mm.
I say, they call themselves God. Yeah, born God, always God.
Mm.
One child's name was God.
Mm.
Okay? Out of this came this power. Deacons of defense. All of this came out of power. And so I'm familiar with hip hop. Where I worked in the Bronx was right down the block on Sedgwick Avenue where Kool Herc used to have his dance parties. I used to pass brothers breakdancing up on the corner of 176th and Grand Concourse. I was right in the middle of hip hop. In 1979, when I first started teaching, the #1 song on the radio was called Rapper's Delight. That's my generation. That's what I know. So I see what they did with what we had, because I remember seeing the brothers and sisters who were rappers on the street. They would park their car right up where I was teaching, and they would open it up on Fridays, and all of a sudden there'd be a long line. There'd be people buying audio cassettes from them for their music. But the system watched that and said, these people are money making. So we're going to take it over. And we're going to do what we do with everything they've ever done. We're going to contaminate it. And that's what they did. Yeah. Pretty soon now, you got some stuff coming out that wasn't about emancipation and liberation of the African mind. It was a liberation of something else, but it wasn't about the mind. But I also have to tell you, much respect, because our young people did the best they could with what they had. Because my question is, where are we? Mm-hmm. Where are we? What are we doing? What is the adult population doing? And then we want to say, well, what's wrong with them? Well, what's wrong with them is us, the adult population, that let that happen. Because hip-hop came directly out of doo-wop. Doo-wop came out of bebop. Bebop came out of rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues came out of blues. Blues came out of spiritual, and spiritual came out of Africa. It's just the way it is. That's the, folk don't invent nothing. You just keep it going. You keep on keeping on. And so you got to find yourself. And you have to know that tomorrow brings another day for you to be able to continue to find yourself. You never give up. No matter what you face, use your ancestors as an example of resilience. Look at your own parents. You don't have to go back to classical civilization. Yeah. Look at your parents. Look at those who bring you up. Look at those who work for you. Look to people who you love, because I don't know what your house is. So I can't speak on one level or another, but think of the people that love you and respect you and what they make you feel when you're in their presence. Wouldn't you want to make other people feel that way? Right. So become that person and recognize that in human there's frailties and there are errors. Dr. Clark used to always say to me, do not put me up on the pedestal, because I idolized Dr. Clark. He was my intellectual father. Much respect. That's it. But the reality of all of this is the fact that you have to begin to understand what it is that you have to do. Perfect your craft. Keep on keeping on. Never give up.
That's beautiful, Elder. That's beautiful, man. Thank you for your time. And before we go, I have to ask
you. But can I ask you a question, my brother?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm here to talk.
Yeah, because it's very important for me to ask you, what do you think about our conversation this evening? I mean, what do you think? What have we been able to do that those listeners, that when you first asked me to do this, what are some of the highlights that you think you could tell them, this is why I asked the brother to come on this show? What have you gotten from this? I know what I've gotten. What have you gotten?
It's beautiful, Elder. I think the importance of knowing who we are. And I think, so many times from being in school, we get institutionalized, right? Where everything is taught through this Eurocentric perspective. Even today, right, with St. Patrick's Day. I remember growing up seeing Black people celebrate it and us not knowing the historical context behind it. So when you're breaking down the history of the Twa people and breaking down how that affects Kemet and then everything else after that, that blew my mind. And I know for people that's my age, I'm 24. So for, you know, other people who are tuning in right now, and once this is posted on the YouTube, everywhere else, knowing that our history starts with the beginning of time, that gives you a whole different type of confidence. And you aren't thinking about life and African people starting in 1619. So then from there, you don't think that you just started from slavery. And being able to talk to someone like yourself, it's like talking to a walking library. And us being able to have these conversations from somebody who's older, somebody who's younger, I think that exemplifies what needs to happen now. Because your generation has seen all the legends when it comes to John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, Malcolm, Martin, all the amazing women as well. And I feel like y'all are like that last bridge because y'all saw everything firsthand. So being able to listen to all the information that you have to provide. And I know that for people who are tuning in, that they probably feel the same exact way, is that gives you a different type of connection, whether it's spiritually, whether it's to your people, and that confidence. I feel like that will allow us to actually make change, because us knowing who we are gives you a different type of confidence. And you start to walk different, you start to think different, eat different. So all of those things I think are ingredients that can change everything for us forever.
No question, brother. No question. You got an A+ for the class.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, elder.
Because that's exactly what I was after, brother. I just want to give your generation an understanding. Not, I don't even want to give you hope.
Mm-hmm.
I want to charge you with your destiny.
Mm.
You see, hope troubles me sometimes, because hope sometimes you're depending on something to happen. Don't depend on something to happen. Make it happen.
Mm.
In the Kemetic language, there is a word, heka, H-E-K-A, heka. The way I've seen it defined by other cultural definitions, they say it's magic. That's magic. But when you study heka from an African perspective, it doesn't mean magic. It means will. It means to will something to happen. When our ancestors were on the plantation, they willed their freedom, and they manifested us. And every bit of fight that we had, they manifested us through their will. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey says, "Up, you mighty race, you will accomplish what you will." What do you will? Go after it, and let no one get in your way. Nobody get in your way. Go after it with everything you got, because you know something? That's there for you to get. That's why it's there. Get it. Your generation got it. Your generation has a lot of things that the other generations didn't have. The other generations manifested it because of what they did, but now you got it. Just like generations before me did what they did. Now I had it.
Yeah.
Got it. You see, I tell people, I don't do what I do for the ancestors. I do what I do through the ancestors for the children. Because the ancestors gave it to me to do. They say, well, why are you giving it back to me? I gave it to you to do something with. Give it to them. I already did my thing, and I gave this to you, which is a legacy. I gave you our legacy. So now you take that legacy and give it to the children. So what I'm doing, I am not doing this for the ancestors. I'm doing this through the ancestors for the children. And for those, I'm saying 24, you could be my grandson.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this for you. And I'm doing it for all of the people that are listening to your program. And I'm asking you, don't believe me. My purpose is not for you to believe me. Research it, because I got books up. If you go to my Instagram Live, I don't know if you put the books up, but I got the books on Instagram Live. Because I don't want to send you out there just listen to what I say and believe in me. Say, yo, but Brother Kaba said this. No, I want to give you where I got it from for you to study, for you to understand. It's ours, brothers and sisters. We're going to get this. I'm telling you now. Dr. King was right. We're going to get to the promised land. I promise you that. But we have things we got to go through. There are lessons that we still have yet to learn. And one lesson we have to learn, family, is we must stop fighting amongst ourselves. People talking about ADOS and people talking about Pan-African.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm ADOS. I am an African descendant or an American descendant of slaves. I am. But I'm thorough Pan-African. Make me no different. You from Ghana, you from Jamaica, you from Puerto Rico, you are from Holland, you speak Dutch. It don't make, if you are African, you are my brother or sister. But I will always look out for my people. The brothers and sisters that are indigenous to the United States, I will always work on your behalf. I will always be in service to us as a people. But my being in service to us as a people does not negate my family who is from another part of the world, but they are African people too. And if you tell me about an African that acts up, acts inappropriate, has no respect for African American people, he's not doing that because he's an African. He's doing that because he's an ass. So I'm not going to hold him being African as the reason. Human beings come in all shapes and sizes. They come with all sorts of attitudes. And if I can't get along with somebody, or somebody think that they are superior to me because of the nature of their background and they African too, then I just put you in the category I call stuck in stupid.
That's right.
But I will not hold another African accountable for what one African may do to me, or someone from the Caribbean, or someone from Central South America. Because quite frankly, Dr. Clark used to always say, I say it too, I ain't never met a mind finer than mine. I'm not saying my mind is finer than other people, but I'm saying I ain't never met a mind that's finer than mine. And that's how you should think. Ain't nobody better than you. There are those that are as good as you, but nobody better. But to do that, you got to be your best self. You lead by example.
That's right. Elder, you have given me your time tonight. You've given us so much knowledge. Before we go, I do have to ask you just one more thing, because speaking on language, the power of the tongue, in the PowerPoint that you sent me, one of the quotes said, in Kemet, there was no separation between speech and action. Can you please speak on the importance of the power of the tongue?
Yeah. Well, the key is that the three major, what might be called the codes, there were 10 lessons in life. There was 10 laws of the cosmos. The first law was to control your thoughts. The second, control your words. And the third was control your actions. All of three are words. What you think are silent words. What you say is spoken words. And what you do is action words. The word is supreme in Africa. And so when you're dealing with thought and action, word and action, what you're dealing with is the thought might as well be dead if you cannot make the word become flesh. Might as well be dead. The reason why you have the thought is to be able to take it to its next level. That's its purpose. One leads to the other. Your thought, your word, your action. And all three, as you bring them together, puts you into a position where you will achieve whatever it is that you're meant to achieve. And so the idea of action, everything comes from action, because when you said earlier that we spoke about time began, well, the moment that time began is called Kepra Septepi, which means the coming into being for the first time. History was created then, because before that, you had a concept of the potential energy within the Nun. But once that first moment came, history began. Time began. And as you went through time, you began to develop ways that you could do what you were going to do. Everything comes out of an action, the conversion of energy at rest into energy in motion. Potential energy converting into kinetic energy. That's what brought the cosmos into being. That's what brings us into being every day we wake up. We come from the potential energy of rest into the kinetic energy of waking up and starting our day. And everything you do in between that is what's going to mark who you become as a person. Thought and action. Did I answer your question, brother?
Perfectly. I appreciate it, Doctor. Doctor,
Okay.
before we leave, where can everybody follow you, keep up with your work, and purchase your book as well? Spirituality.
Absolutely. And fantastic. Got 2 books. One of them is a book dedicated to Professor William Leo Hansberry. He is the first brother that invented or created the African Studies program at Howard University in 1922. I wrote a book about him. Because if we're going to study our history, and if we're going to study how to study our history, you need to know William Leo Hansberry, because he's the one that wrote, he's the architect of the African Studies program. My second book is titled Spirituality Before Religions. You can get them both up on Amazon. They're both Kindle and they're also paperback, according to which one you want. But those are my 2 books that I have written. Also, I encourage you to go to my website, www.kabakamene.com. KABAKAMENE.com, and you can download my free e-course and my free study guide. Study guide is the most important work that I've ever done. It's the outline of where I was going. Dr. Clark often used to say that you may not get to your destination, but if you leave the proper roadmap, those that come behind can follow where you were going. That outline is my roadmap. It'll tell you where I was going. It'll list all the books. It'll tell you how I would teach it. It's about 44 pages. To me, it's valuable. Of course, Instagram, Kaba Kamene, and there's a number of, once you go there on Facebook, and I just look forward to the future. I appreciate all the support that I've received. The book has been received well. And from the last time I was with you, brother, my sales spiked that night and the next day. So I want to thank you for whatever happened to make that happen. And I pray that it happens again, because poor revolutionaries lead poor revolutions.
Right.
Everything that I get leads me to buy books. It allows me to do what I need to do. If I need to do something, that is the financial aspect that allows me to do it. That's what I spend my money on. And so your support does help, and I appreciate your support. Now, when you go to my page on Gumroads, what you'll notice, there's a lot of things that are zero. I'm not asking you for money, because I realize, family, time is tight. Not just now because of the pandemic, but in general, things are tight. But there's some things I want you to have. And I don't want money to be what separates you having it from not having it. However, if you're feeling a little bit, you can give me more than zero, according to what makes you comfortable. And I'll ride with that. And if you don't have it, don't put it. I put it there for free, to be free. But if you feel, that's a good thing too. So I appreciate everything.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you, brother Caleb. Again, I encourage you to continue this great work that you're doing, brother.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
And I thank you for this opportunity to extend the work that I'm doing and to introduce me to your community. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And for all of you who tuned in, thank you for your time. Time is the most precious thing you have. So I respect your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elder. And you are always welcome to come back onto the platform. Next time, we'll be able to talk about WAP. So I got you. But thank you. Much love.
Yeah, we're going to get it. Get ready for it.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we ain't covering nothing up, brother, because your generation likes it, man. Drop it like it's hot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, don't put no sugar coating on it, you know.
That's right.
Deal with it.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm looking forward to having that conversation, brother.
Yes, sir. Dr. Kaba, you have a beautiful evening. Everyone make sure to donate. I will do so as well. Much love. You have a beautiful night.
You also, brother. Thank you for the opportunity. Keep on keeping on, brother. It ain't over till we win.
Yes, sir. I got you. Much love.